The Women's Rights Party officially launched their election campaign. It was a busy weekend. They were founded in April 2023 after the shocking violence experienced by mostly women at Auckland's Let Women Speak event at Albert Park on the 25th of March that year. As you recall, UK women's rights advocate Kelly J. Keane, aka Posey Parker, was scheduled to speak, but it quickly deteriorated into a dangerous situation that had been whipped up over the previous week by media and leaders of both Labour and the Greens. Co-leader Jill Ovens says the party will be on the ballot in every polling booth across the entire country so women and men can vote for a party that is clearly focused on protecting and promoting sex-based rights. Ms Ovens says a strong vote for the Women's Rights Party will send a message to all politicians not to give away hard-won rights of women and safeguarding of our children, including politicians on the left and the right. And Jill Ovens joins me now. Jill, good morning.
Morning.
Lovely.
No better time to
keep going.
No better time to vote for protecting sex-based rights for women and for men, and of course for our children, for our future.
Yeah, I mean, this is great. It's kicking off, Jill. You're not just campaigning on those issues anymore. You're actually asking Kiwis to vote. Am I right, to vote you into Parliament?
Well, we did say that last time too, but getting into Parliament is a very high bar. To get the 5% threshold, if you're going list only, you need about 145,000 votes. So we are realistic about that. But it's about the strong message that we're sending to the politicians across the board.
Yeah. All right, Jill, let's look at the Women's Rights Party priorities. Number one, protect women's and children's spaces and safety. I mean, you and I have spoken about this a lot. But also this will include the right to women-only social media groups as well, correct?
Yes, that's right. And of course, Sal Grove is going to be with us in September, who's the victim of an attempt to set up a single-sex online space. But this also affects lesbians too, because there's a lot of encroachment by men who claim to be women and want to get into those spaces that are clearly for women only.
Yes. Another priority, Jill, accurately recording the biological sex on the birth certificate. Walk us through that. I mean, it's changed. And what do you want to see?
Well, it goes back a long time, actually, where people could change their nominated sex on their birth certificate. And in the past, they had to go through a process with seeing psychologists and medical people and doing what's called reassignment surgery, we would call it. Masculinization or feminization, cosmetic surgery. But anyway, then it was changed to being cell-sex ID. And so that was in 2021, that went through Parliament and became the law. And we're saying all of that is a legal fiction, that the birth certificate should be what the baby was recorded at the birth. And we all know nowadays that is possible to be seen in scans long before the baby gets to the birth. And if there is a mistake at the time of the birth due to a difference of sex development, well, that could be an exception that could allow it to be changed. But otherwise, we think that the birth certificate is a record that is a legal document, and in terms of passports and driver's licenses and so on, should be the accurate recording of the sex of the person. Yeah.
Yes. And as you said, there could be the rare instance of a child born with an undetected difference of sexual development, DSD, I think it is. That was what you were talking about. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Sometimes that doesn't become obvious until they get into puberty. And then in some conditions, a woman might have under testes as well, and doesn't get periods. And so that becomes obvious. And when they do testing, they find there is an X chromosome there. So, there are differences that
Sure.
can happen.
Yes. Another policy here for you, Jill, for the group: leave the Human Rights Act alone. Is this, you want to keep gender identity out of the Human Rights Act? Why do you believe adding it as a protected ground actually weakens protections for women?
Well, one of the problems is that 2006 untested Crown law opinion that said gender identity is already covered under the prohibited category of sex. And that has caused a lot of confusion as to how the exceptions that are related, particularly to protect women in sports, for example, and in terms of spaces, women's spaces, in terms of intimate care, that has become quite confusing. And we think that adding gender identity is just going to make the situation worse. And in fact, if the Crown Law opinion was correct, they wouldn't need to be putting gender identity into it. They obviously don't think it is. And so there is a push. The current coalition government, though, shelved the Law Commission's recommendations, which were completely biased in favour of putting gender identity into the Human Rights Act. But they shelved it, saying it wasn't a priority. That doesn't mean it's gone away forever. And if there is a change of government in November, we already know that, we already know the position of Labour, Greens, Te Pāti Māori, and now we know the position of the Opportunity Party as well. So should they get over the line, there we go. It'll be full on.
Yeah. Get gender out of the conversion practices prohibition law. Can you explain? Can you explain this to me? I'm a little vague on this one.
Yeah. So that goes along with sex self-ID, and it's now currently being pushed in the UK, for example. And it's part of a whole suite of measures that have been pushed by very wealthy men who claim to be women internationally. And so what they argued was that there were really harmful conversion practices happening. And in fact, of course, we don't support harmful conversion practices for lesbians, gays, and bisexuals to try and convince them that they don't have a sexual orientation that prefers attraction to their same sex. And but what they did is slip gender into that legislation, and genders are about sex stereotypes and expectations. And goes, so it's a very unclear concept. It shouldn't really be in law, but also the Act encourages gender affirming care for adolescents who are struggling with their sexuality. Right. And they're encouraged to transition to the opposite sex when in fact they may be young lesbian or gay boys. And so, ironically, this is a form of gay conversion.